So before the video gets to what I want to talk about, I want to clarify that I like Battlefield 2042. I think it has amazing potential and I really want to see the game flourish, but there are things that need to be fixed in order for it to reach the level that so many people want to see. I realize that this game won't be perfect for the coming months, and it's really hard to justify the actions that have been taken around the early launch. From the inoperable servers for the first day and a half, to the borderline unplayable Portal servers that so many people were excited about. Not to mention the fact that we're just days away from the full release and very few of the things that are going to be talked about in this will be fixed.
Shameful display! Shameful display!
Starting off with what I dislike about All-Out Warfare, from the first few matches I was able to join, I noticed a severe lack of weapon diversity. And yes, you can totally chalk this up to people just starting the game, but in total, there are only 22 equipable weapons, which lands it right next to Battlefield Bad Company 2. I find this to be extremely harmful to the game environment because with less to experiment with, people are going to find a meta extremely quickly, and you're going to see more and more matches being played out the exact same way, with everybody using the same weapons. In past, we've seen a major increase to the amount of weapons in each franchise installment, with Battlefield 4 coming out top with over 100 equipable weapons. This gave every match a ton of weapon variation, and it gave you something to look forward to as you ranked up. Then there was a steep decline in weapons per installment, with Hardline understandably cutting that roster in half. But then after that, each coming installment to the franchise received a decreased amount of weapons you had to choose from. This was also kind of due to the time period it was set in, being World War I and World War II. It is passable. Assuming that 2042 will add weapons throughout the DLCs raises kind of the question of how many weapons are going to be added. The starting roster for the weapons is a huge setback, and unless they release like 10 per DLC, I feel like the feeling of the game and the matches is going to stagnate. But this also brings up a huge problem when, as the years go on, it also feels like we're getting less and less content. Another major issue regarding the game is the introduction of Points, Battlefield's premium currency introduced in Battlefield 5. Are they going to treat it with the same respect, or are they going to opt for this being the main way to procure yourself a new shiny weapon? As for now, I'm really disappointed with the roster and hope that this will change very soon.
Shameful display! Shameful display!
The good parts about the multiplayer, I mean, the game, albeit when it works, feels amazing. It really reminds me of Battlefield 4 and gives me really high hopes for this game. This game series has a definite skill wall, so I'm not the best at it, but the gunplay has been this series' strong suit, and this one leaves little to be desired. When I had first seen the operators, I was super worried that some of them were going to be completely unbalanced, but more often than not, your gunfights come down to who was the better shot or who had better positioning. All in all, considering what I've talked about, All-Out Warfare and Conquest have been a refresher. After the last two Battlefield games being set in the past, I'm excited to see what maps, amongst other things, are released while 2042 continues to receive updates. My rating? I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I really think that they could do way more with this, but for now, it's serviceable. Moving on to Hazard Zone. Where to begin with Hazard Zone? I understand the vision they had or were going for, but the execution is laughable. If you're unaware, Hazard Zone is DICE's newest game mode addition to the Battlefield series, as a mini game of Tarkov with really no real purpose other than being a slower paced, more tedious version of like a hostage rescue. In this, you're pinned against 8 separate teams of 4 in a closed off section of maps from the multiplayer lineup, and you're tasked with picking up hard drives that give you money once you extract. Once you've picked up some hard drives, take your ass to an extraction point and take out the bots surrounding it while you wait for the extraction vehicle. I mean, like, you can sit there and you can defend that, or you can go and steal it from another player. Only 2 teams can extract, which is kind of cool, but with that money that you extract, all you can do is play it again with better weapons. And it's not like you pick up weapons that are in the map that would be like, oh, this is a special one that is crafted for this. It's just a rinse and repeat, but you use your classes. It feels totally unfinished and is something very few people are going to play shortly after the full launch of the game unless they flesh it out a little bit more. A huge negative in this mode is the sheer size of the maps it puts you in with other players. With a limited number of players that will most likely stay grouped for most of the match, it's unlikely that you're going to get into one or more encounters with the enemies throughout the match. The good things about Hazard Zone, I mean, I guess it's another packaged mode with the game. I would have much preferred a return to the Firestorm Battle Royale, but with the nature of Battle Royales at the moment, I can see why they made the decision to make something else. Overall, it really doesn't add much of anything to the title unless you want something to break up the repetitiveness of all-out war. My rating, 3 out of 10. And last but not least, the portal that was so hyped surrounding this game. Battlefield Portal so far has been the most disappointing part of 2042. Initially, it was the endless spam of XP farms where one team is pitted unfairly against another team that runs around with knives with 1 HP. Portal absolutely does a disservice to the past titles, giving players the chance to pay and host a server of their own and still gain weapon and rank progression. Not having the community servers in which this is available severely takes away from the options you have for playstyle. Hopefully this is fixed in the future and we'll have some server hosts maybe with special privileges that allow their server to reward weapon progression and rank up XP. But until something is fixed, it is going to be the laughingstock of 2042. I was really hoping that this one would come out swinging and making pretty much the main servers for this game just feel like a joke and having this be the focus of these games. But it looks like they're kind of making this one take a back seat for now, and it's really disappointing. The good in Portal is really just the future for now. Despite everything that is going on with it, there's a small glimmer of hope this will be the best iteration of personally hosted servers in Battlefield. The potential is there and everybody wants it to work, but it needs to be great when it's finished to get people back on this horse. My rating for now is a 2 out of 10. It's an absolute disgrace to the Battlefield community, and I feel like if they don't do something about this soon, they're going to hemorrhage players.
Ihre Befehle, Feldwebel!
To conclude this very negative video so far, Battlefield 2042 has the potential to be the best Battlefield game to date, and it's got the community rooting for it, but in its current state there is a lot to be desired and they've got to act quickly. This game was released unfinished and broken, and it needs to be heavily fixed before it should be deemed acceptable. My overall for the game, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. I think that's the highest I could go. I want to give it a 4, but with the multiplayer hitting hard right now, it does feel serviceable.